Cameroon won Wednesday its very first medal in the 22nd Commonwealth Games. 29-year-old junior Periclex Ngaja claimed gold medal after lifting 201 kilograms in the men's 109 kilograms final in Birmingham. Samoa's Jack Hitila Opeloge and India's Singh Lovepreet complete the podium. To the Cannock Chase Forest north of Birmingham, Alexander Miller, a Namibian mountain bike rider, finished third in the cross-country event, crossing the finish line after New Zealanders Sam Gaze and Ben Oliver. In the women's category, English woman Evie Richards won gold, followed by Australian Zoe Cuthbert and South African Candice Leal. On day 6 of the Games, 41 African athletes had secured medals.
Talks on bringing home 49 Ivorian soldiers detained in Mali are ongoing, but any result could take time, a spokesman for Ivory Coast government said Wednesday. Defense Minister Tene Brahima Ouattara met with the relatives of the soldiers, telling them they had been deployed as part of a mission that complied with the rules. We will do everything to avoid extremes. To engage unnecessarily in judicial debate would only create a further gap in the brotherhood between Mali and Côte d'Ivoire. This is not what we want. I say it again, Mali is a brotherly country. Ivory Coast has said the soldiers were unfairly detained at Bamako's airport on July 10 after being sent to provide backup for the UN peacekeeping mission in Mali, MINUSMA. I really want to reassure you, to tell you that your children, your husbands, your brothers and sisters have been deployed on a mission that is completely legal. Mali's military-led government, however, says the soldiers were detained after landing on a special flight without supporting document and has described them as mercenaries. I admit that since 10 July we have had no news of him, my son, except for the information that the General Staff has given us, and we are connected to them while knowing that our children are fine, and that's all. Other than that, we have no news of our children. Tensions have risen in recent months between the military junta in Bamako and the country's international partners. Togo has been mediating the dispute, but talks on July 28 in Lomé failed to make progress.
The tone of the Angolan electoral campaign has risen again, with the Electoral Commission warning parties to avoid messages that can incite violence and division. The opposition has already criticized the process, accusing the media of unfair and inequitable coverage. The issue of media freedom came up during a meeting between reporters and a senior ruling party official. Journalists sought assurances on ending media censorship. Will the MPLA in the next 5 years let the media, fundamentally the public media, exercise journalism, at least with balance? We defend what is clearly stated in the law. We defend an increasingly plural information in which the principle of contradiction should always be present, and it should be this principle that should be followed by the media. The official also said the party was planning to pass legislation creating municipalities when the next parliament begins its tenure. The change is meant to create efficiency in the governance of the Southern African country's cities. In this term, in the next 5 years, we're going to implement the local councils. The general elections take place on August 24th. Competing parties had until this Wednesday to deliver lists of delegates to polling stations.
Senegal's opposition has called for the suspension of the publication of the results of Sunday's legislative elections to examine its complaints over alleged irregularities and fraud. Both the government and opposition camps are claiming victory after Sunday's vote to renew the 165 seats in the National Assembly, which is largely controlled by the presidential coalition. We ask the President of the National Commission for the Census of Votes to suspend the publication of the results, scheduled for today, Thursday, 5 p.m., to allow the opposition inter-coalition to review the results poll by poll. We can even do it in public sessions so that the Senegalese people can see with us the irregularities that are unacceptable. There are reports that have no signatures, neither from the administration nor from the representatives of the coalitions, and it is unacceptable that these reports are validated. The opposition hoped the elections will impose a cohabitation or divided government on President Macky Sall and curb any ambitions he may have for a third term. We will not accept this attempt to confiscate the vote. I appeal to President Macky Sall because at a certain point, a man must know how to be great. Provisional overall results are due no later than Friday. The single round of voting will decide 165 seats of the single-chamber parliament, currently controlled by the president's supporters, for the next 5 years.
Speaking in New York Wednesday, the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres urged governments to mitigate the effects of the energy crisis, which is crushing the most vulnerable. The crisis fueled by the war in Ukraine and what the United Nations chief called grotesque greed by energy companies has sent bills through the roof.
It is immoral for oil and gas companies to be making record profits from this energy crisis on the back of the poorest people and communities and at a massive cost to the climate. The combined profits of the largest energy companies in the first quarter of this year are close to $100 billion. I urge all governments to tax these excessive profits and use the funds to support the most vulnerable people through these difficult times.
If the crisis affects everyone, all of them are not in the same boat. On the continent, for example, some governments chose to subsidize high costs when others have so far avoided to do so. Shell or BP's second quarter adjusted earnings are above $8 billion.